Hello again and welcome to the Dr Hilary Show. Coming up, an award-winning broadcaster, author and TV personality. In 2024, she reached the final of Dancing on Ice as the first contestant with an ileostomy. She also set a Guinness World Record in 2023 as the fastest woman to complete the London Marathon with a stoma and is now tackling all 6 world marathon majors. I'll be joined by Adele Roberts. Plus, the CEO of Cancer Research UK, Mitchell OBE, will update me on the charity's work, including the latest from the Bowel Babe Fund and the Toilet Talk campaign for Bowel Cancer Awareness Month. First today, what answers do you need about your health and those worries that just won't go away? This is your chance to get some help with Ask Dr Hilary, where each week I'll answer your health and wellness questions right here on the show. If there's something on your mind, just let me know. I had one message from Anthony in Hitchin, and he says, should I be worried about the news about NHS England? What does it mean for me, for everyday people? Well, I think the answer is that we'll have to wait and see. NHS England was set up to take healthcare out of politics so that it wouldn't be subject to the whims of any particular political party. The trouble is it's led to a lot of duplication. And the hope is that by abolishing it, there will be less duplication, there will be financial savings that can be redirected to frontline staff, frontline services that we hope will help every patient's experience going forward. So moving from analogue to digital, putting more resources into the front line, and I think having less planners and more doers. In other words, less management, more clinical staff. That's the hope. Let's wait and see how we get on. Hopefully it will save money, but also help outcomes for patients themselves. And if, like Anthony there, you have any questions, send them in confidence to ask@drhilaryjones.com. Don't wait, get involved and let's talk about what really matters to you. My celebrity guest this week is DJ, broadcaster, runner and author, and the proud parent to Audrey, the name she gives to her stoma. I'm delighted to welcome Adele Roberts. Adele, so honoured to have you here today. Thank you for coming in.
Thank you for having me.
How are you?
Good, thank you. Just to let you know, Audrey's been a bit cheeky today.
Is that
she
right?
She might make a bit of noise.
She's not behaving well.
She's very excited by you, I'll be honest.
Well, I'm honoured. Now, you and I have got a lot in common, which we'll talk about in a minute. Dancing on Ice.
Yes.
And author. So, yeah, we've done lots of things. But particularly, you know, I looking at your career, is there anything you haven't done? Author, broadcaster. You were the first gay woman to present on BBC's Radio 1 Breakfast Time.
Yeah.
You've done I'm a Celebrity, Get Me Out of Here.
It sounds like I'll do anything, doesn't
It does, yeah, but you're obviously multi-talented. So the thing that I obviously noticed particularly was your diagnosis in 2021 of stage 2 bowel cancer. Mm-hmm. Now, a lot of people think, bowel cancer, that happens to older people. You were how old when this was diagnosed?
Yeah, I was 42.
So young.
Yeah, and that's what my GP said to me, actually. I was very lucky. She said, we don't think it'll be cancer because you're too young, but I'll give you the test anyway. And thank God she gave me that test. And thank God I did it.
Yeah.
And I think that saved my life.
What kind of symptoms did you have?
Well, you know that you mentioned I'm a Celebrity. I actually was on that show displaying the symptoms and I didn't pick up on it. Nobody at home picked up on it. It started at first really by me losing weight, but because I was running a lot of the time, I thought it was because I was like really active and I'd really got into running. And then it started to be I'd have a bloated tummy. And then eventually, especially on I'm a Celeb as well, I couldn't really digest my food. My stomach would hurt after eating. Mm-hmm. And then after I'm a Celeb, it was a couple of months later, I started noticing blood when I go to the toilet, when I go for a poo. Yeah. And that became more and more regular. Mm. Yeah. And then I was like, oh, this isn't normal for me. Right. And so I rang my GP and asked if she could see me. Yeah.
So what you described there is so typical because it's so easy to put something like bloating down to something else. You assume, well, it's a bit of irritable bowel syndrome. It's a temporary thing. And then you're on something like I'm a Celebrity. The diet's very different. You attribute it to that. And then you come home and, you know, it takes time. But you had the sense to eventually go and see your GP GP who had the sense to check it out, because so many people put it off for too long. So when you finally had the diagnosis, it must have been a shock.
Absolutely. I went into the room thinking I was just going to get test results from a colonoscopy. And at the time, I didn't even know what a colonoscopy was. So that was quite a surprise when I had that. I thought they were just going to say it was IBS or something like that. And luckily, my girlfriend was in the room with me. And I don't know if the right word is surgeon, the consultant. Yeah, the consultant was amazing. He just sort of like put his hand on my knee, and then I felt like he might say something serious, and he said, "I'm sorry, you've got cancer."
Right.
And
so
that's
direct.
just really shocked and taken aback. And then I don't really remember much about the rest of that conversation. He mentioned I might have a stoma, but at that time I didn't really care. I was just hoping that they could help me and save me. So it wasn't until a week later that I found out what stage cancer I had. So they had to do more tests. So I just knew that I had cancer.
Absolutely. So you're quite right that moment where someone is as direct as that and tells you straight, you know, half the conversation is gone. You don't remember anything else. So I always say to people, look, you know, if it's an important consultation, ask the consultant if you can record the conversation. Then you can play it back, or you can play it back to family members who you want to inform, so that you've got the whole of the consultation. Otherwise, 50% of it is lost. So that's a little tip for people in the future. But then you had to deal with the surgery, and then the grueling chemotherapy afterwards. That was months of hard graft, wasn't it? Yeah,
and I got diagnosed during COVID as well. So when I went into hospital, sadly, my family couldn't be there with me. It was very strange being in an environment where these people that were saving my life, I couldn't see their faces properly. But I was just glad to be there. I was glad that they could help me. I was glad that they could do something. So I had the surgery, and when I woke up, I realised I had a stoma. So when they put me under, they said, you might wake up with a stoma. We're not quite sure how big the tumour is, where it is, you might need one.
And
so
you have to sign the consent form for such. Yes. So you woke up with the bag.
Yes. So I woke up, remembered I might have one, pulled back the covers, and I was like, oh, I've got one. And it was in a little see-through bag, but my tummy was so sore that I couldn't really sit up and see it properly. It wasn't until the next couple of days that I was able to go to the toilet and actually look in a mirror for the first time and see my body.
Did you feel a bit torn between, right, they've probably saved my life, but then I've got to live with this thing that I don't really know much about at this stage?
Yeah, it's a bit overwhelming to me. So I was a bit like, I don't know how to work this. It was like having a naughty baby trapped to my front, and sort of like with it, and I had to change its nappy. That's what it felt like, because stomas, people don't realise, wriggle about, you know, so they don't even sit still. But I also, strangely, because I've always had a bit of a bad relationship with my body, I think it was the first time I actually appreciated my body, and the first time that I saw my stoma, it felt like, I don't know, for some strange reason, I felt complete. I felt like I was me for the first time. I felt like I could actually appreciate this amazing machine that kept me alive. And in a way, the gratitude, having cancer, I wouldn't wish it on anyone, but for me, I feel like it's helped me get my life back and really appreciate life.
That's really interesting. And you say that it misbehaved at first. It was like a little baby, and you even gave it a name.
Yeah.
So where does Audrey come from?
Yeah, so it comes from Little Shop of Horrors. So there's a plant in it that's sort of like that. Right. And that's what a stoma looks like. But just to let you know, mine doesn't have teeth like the plant. But it's like sort of like a mouth, isn't it?
Sure.
Yeah, so it reminded me of that.
Well, I suppose we should explain what an ileostomy is.
Yeah.
It's basically, it brings the small bowel to the outside, the surface of the abdomen, and then a bag, collects the waste.
Yeah.
Now, still, there's a bit of a stigma regarding ostomies, and you want to make these much more visible. You're doing a great job in even talking about it.
Thank you.
And of course, you can live a normal life with these bags, and you kind of feel like it saved your life.
Totally. When I first got told I might have a stoma, it felt like people were like, I'm so sorry, you might have to have a stoma. And because I didn't really know what they were at the time, I didn't understand why it sounded like it might be a bad thing, because I was like, this is going to save my life. I always say as well, I'm not ashamed to have a stoma. I'm ashamed I didn't know what one was. And so that's why I try and show and talk about mine as much as possible, because nobody should be ashamed of them. I think anybody that has one has been through a lot to even get it. You know, they've probably been very ill, and it's something that's helping them get their life back together. And as you say, when I first got mine, I didn't really know how to proceed in life. There wasn't much information on how you sort of like move forward. And so that's why I try and share that as well, to show you can have a full life and there's nothing to be ashamed of and there's nothing to be scared of.
Absolutely. Well, I suppose people don't know much about it because it's not a sexy subject as such. But I went to a wonderful conference with the Stoma nurses last year and gave a little talk. And I said that, you know, GPs might carry out a diagnosis or do the investigations, and they might tell a patient that they're going to have a stoma, but it's the stoma nurses that do so much in the practical side of it, teaching you about how they work, how to look after them, how to keep the skin clean. So that must have been your experience as well.
Yeah, my stoma nurse, Elaine, I think she's like the stoma whisperer. She's amazing. And I feel like she was so good at preparing me before the surgery. So when it was like, will I get one, will I not? She was so good introducing me to stomas and doing it bit by bit that by the time she'd finished, I didn't mind if I had one or not. And so I think she really helped me mentally before I even went in there. And then after I got it, she really helped me look after it, and she helped me get physical again and get back moving again. So without her, I don't think I would have this attitude towards my stoma.
And of course, some stomas are reversible. I mean, it may be that whilst the bowel is recovering, you'll be able to reverse it.
Yeah. Mine is reversible, but at the moment I've decided not to have it reversed just yet, because when they reverse it, there's a chance I might get LARS. There might be a chance that I can't use my bowels properly or in the same way that I used to. I only got told recently they actually removed most of my rectum. So I think I've only got about an inch of it left. So it might be very different for me going to the toilet if I do have it reversed. So for now, and I can manage it, and I'm quite happy.
And on a day-to-day basis, what are the big challenges having a stoma?
Always needing to go to the toilet. So whenever I go somewhere new, I'm always like, have you got a toilet? Do you mind if I use it? So I think it's just for me, making sure that I know when I eat and drink, because essentially anything that goes in has to come out, and it usually will end up in my bag. So just always knowing where the nearest toilet is, making sure I've got a spare bag in case I need to change my stoma bag. And especially when I go running, most people will maybe check their route on Strava to see where they're going to run. Mine's always dotted with toilets. Like, where are the toilets? Are they open? What time is it? What day is it? And that's how I plan my runs now.
Okay, and flying must be a bit of a challenge as well.
Yeah, flying's a lot. So at the moment, I'm doing a challenge where I'm flying around the world doing different major marathons.
I know.
And every single flight, Audrey's bag blows up like a whoopee cushion.
Like a bag of crisps, isn't it? Air pressure changes. Which
is quite, when people come and check on you, they're kind of like, what's down there? And it's like, no, it's just my stoma bag. What are you hiding?
But what you're proving is, with these marathons, that there is nothing you can't do.
Yeah.
So you've got a challenge at the moment to run 6 major marathons, haven't you?
Yes.
Which are what? Berlin, New York, London.
You're good at this, yeah. So Berlin, Chicago, New York, Tokyo, Boston, London. And I'm doing that to raise money for Cancer Research UK.
Fantastic. But all in how many months? 8 months?
Oh, yeah. So it'll be within 8 months, wow. 6 marathons in 8 months. Yeah.
And you'll be the first person to do that? Is that right?
I think I'll be the first woman to do it with an ileostomy, and hopefully the fastest woman. We're hoping to set a Guinness World Record.
Right. So you're running 26 and a bit miles.
Yeah.
You've got a stoma.
Yeah.
You're wearing kit. So what about clothing?
So I have special stoma knickers that they now have at M&S.
Okay.
Believe it or not. Yeah, they've done those. But before that, I just wear normal underwear, but I have a stoma belt.
Right.
So there's like sort of like, like Spanx.
Yeah.
Yeah. How do you know what Spanx are?
I've heard of them. I'm a man of the world.
Is that why you look so trim?
I've got Spanx on, yeah.
So it's like, a bit of sort of like elasticated, like material that goes around my stoma and just keeps it secure so that when I'm running, it's not sort of like sloshing everywhere.
And when you're perspiring, you've got the glue that holds the stoma bag on. Do you get problems there?
Absolutely. So I have special stickers as well that go around the seal of the bag just to make sure that it stays on. I do have accidents though. The bag does come off, but because of my stoma belt, it doesn't really fall off the front of my body. And I always carry a spare bag whenever I'm training as well, just in case that happens.
And like many marathon runners have a special diet the night before or that morning. Do you have to do anything there?
Yeah, most ileostomy people will know that fiber's not our friend. And unfortunately, a lot of marathon food is fibrous. So again, I have to be very careful about how many carbs I eat because essentially they're going to end up in my bag. So I know now how long it takes each food to go through my digestive system, how long it takes before it ends up in the bag. So I really have to time everything, all my porridge and everything, to make sure that it doesn't come out on the course.
These are brilliant practical tips. So if you're running a marathon and you want stoma, this is the girl. This is the girl with all the practical tips that I didn't know about. Yeah. So, but you're achieving it. So what sort of times are you aiming for?
At the moment, well, my fastest was Berlin, and that was 3 hours 20.
Very, very good.
Which I was so proud of.
Are you elite?
Oh gosh, no. But I mean, it's the fastest I've ever done it. So I was really proud of that time.
That's really good.
But the problem was, and speaking of flights, I had to fly back from Berlin the same night that I ran the marathon. So I flew back, and then the next day my stoma prolapsed. So that is just the effect of running a marathon and the air pressure in the airplane. It meant that my stoma, instead of being about 2 or 3 inches, ended up quite long down my leg and my intestines started to come out. So that is sort of like a side effect really of how tough this challenge is, and it's just sort of like me learning to rest and just make sure that I'm aware of that and maybe not fly back the same night you've done a marathon.
Good idea.
So I've not done that since.
Well, you are pushing yourself.
Yeah.
And have you always been a runner?
No, for a lot of my adult life, I've actually been like quite overweight, quite out of shape, used to struggle a lot with my mental health, and I've just managed to bit by bit work on myself and turn my life around. And luckily that had all happened before cancer, so I'd only just started running before I got cancer. But I think that the marathon mindset and the running mindset really helped me deal with it. It helped me realise that I can deal with tough things. I think it helped me realise that this too shall pass. And I think it just reminded me to break things down and take things step by step and be kind to myself.
Well, you are an inspiration to many, many people. And talking of challenges, you've done Dancing on Ice and got to the final, which is a lot further than I got, to be fair. Did you enjoy that?
I loved it. I really loved the whole experience. I'm not a dancer or a skater. I'm not good with glam. So they've taught me, like, I've got fake eyelashes on today. That's something I picked up from Dancing on Ice. Okay. I quite enjoyed getting glammed up.
Well, we talked about Spanx earlier. Yeah. I also know what a teddy is.
I don't know a teddy.
A teddy is, the buttons do out of the shirt.
Oh, yeah.
Because you don't want your sequin shirt to ride up when you're doing lifting.
So cool.
So you've got the little poppers underneath. It's the first time I've ever worn a sequin shirt with poppers underneath. And it's not that comfortable for men, I can tell you. No, it's not. It chafes and it itches, and you think, oh my God, it takes a bit of getting used to. I always remember the day I was introduced to my skating partner, Alex, the head of wardrobe came in and he said to me, I've come to measure you for your costumes, doctor. And I said, all right. I said, but I'm not wearing pink and I'm not wearing yellow. And he said, oh, why? I said, because, I'm a professional person. I'm not very good at skating. I don't want to draw attention to myself. He said, yes, all right, then you don't want pink and you don't want yellow, but after 6 weeks they're all gagging for pink. I never wore pink and I never wore yellow. I was never very good either. But you've done Celebrity Get Me Out of Here. How was that?
Yeah, that was... It was tough actually, because that's when I just started to really succumb to the bowel cancer. So unfortunately, the timing of that, 2019, the cancer got found in 2021, and that is really when the symptoms really showed themselves. But I thought it was because I was in the jungle, I was away from my family, and there were small portions of food, but the weight dropped off me. So I was quite ill in the jungle. I used to get very tired very quickly, and when the sun would go down, my body had shut down. So I feel like I don't even know what happened in there. I'll be honest with you. I feel like I was delirious the whole time. But it was because I was ill with bowel cancer, but nobody knew.
I'm getting the impression you fly all over the world knackered. just doing yourself in. But you look very, very well on it.
Oh, thank you.
You're an author as well. Personal best, you wrote?
Yeah, so this is the story of me finding out I had bowel cancer, being saved by the doctors and the wonderful NHS, doing chemotherapy, like you say, which was very gruelling, but within the 18 months, getting back running again and setting a new Guinness World Record in the London Marathon for the fastest woman with an ileostomy.
Fantastic.
So yeah, it's a lovely, lovely story, but hopefully a lot of stuff in there for people to know that you can come through tough times.
Absolutely. And when are we going to hear you on the radio again?
Oh gosh, I'm not sure. I don't know. I don't know if anybody will have me now.
Of course they will. Of course they will, especially now. What's your favourite song of all time?
Oh gosh, you can't do this to me. Oh God. I think at the moment it's a song that reminds me of my mum, and this is going to sound really weird, but she was a massive Meatloaf fan, and I was running last night and Bat Out of Hell came on, and it gave me a massive boost. I was running through the streets of London like I was possessed, so Bat Out of Hell, I'll go with that.
Well, there's a song to run to. It's fantastic. Adele, thank you so much.
Thank you.
It's been really enlightening,
Thank you.
and you're an inspiration. Thank you.
Thank you.
Don't forget, you can watch all my interviews on the Dr Hilary Show YouTube page, including my conversation with TV producer Helen Addis on how she dealt with her diagnosis of breast cancer.
I was 39 when I found my symptom, and I don't have any family history of cancer, let alone breast cancer. I was very active, fit and well, didn't exercise, didn't drink that much. And yeah, so when I found my lump, I thought, it's going to be hormonal. But I went to see my GP, who agreed it's likely to be hormonal. You don't really tick any of the boxes.
Well, 9 out of 10.
That's right.
Lumps are going to be benign.
So 2 weeks later, I was in front of the breast consultant. And in those 2 weeks, another 4 lumps appeared. So I just thought, jackpot, that's not going to be cancer, because cancer doesn't do that. And I had a mammogram, a biopsy, and a ultrasound in one appointment. And then 3 days later, I was back in front of that same consultant being told the sentence I never, ever, ever thought would come my way. And that is, you've got grade 3 invasive breast cancer. And it just absolutely floored me, because I just did not see it coming my way at all.
Mitchell OBE has led Cancer Research UK since 2018, steering it through COVID-19 and into what she describes as a golden age of cancer research. Before joining Cancer Research UK, she worked for the NSPCC and Age UK and led the Multiple Sclerosis Society. Mitchell was awarded an OBE for her services to older people in 2015 and joins me now. Welcome, Mitchell.
It's great to be here with you.
Thank you. You know, you're CEO of Cancer Research UK. Who are doing sterling work. You've just heard from Adele Roberts, haven't we? And the inspirational work she's doing in raising the awareness of ostomy and getting rid of the stigma about it.
Oh, an amazing job she's doing, isn't she?
Isn't she?
I mean, getting that message out.
Fantastic. And this month is Bowel Cancer Awareness Month. How important will that be?
It'll be incredibly important to raise awareness of the signs and symptoms of bowel cancer, and critically to smash some of the taboos about talking about poo. And so we're going to have a big focus with the Bowel Babe Fund, which was set up in honour of Dame Deborah James, and will be ensuring that we raise awareness. Gabby Roslin, who you may know, and other colleagues are going to be sitting on a purple loo, smashing the taboos about bowel cancer and making sure that people talk to each other about signs and symptoms, talk about poo, and make sure that if there's any change in your body and bowel habits, speak to a doctor.
Yeah, but because there's still a stigma, isn't there, about people being embarrassed. I think you carried out a survey where so many people said that they were embarrassed, not just about talking to family and friends, close people, but to anybody, even the GP.
Even the GP. So market research we did showed that people are very embarrassed about talking about poo and changes in bowel habits, even with their doctors, even more so with their family and friends. So we want to make this a conversation that people have every day, every week in their lives when it matters, because diagnosing bowel cancer, like many other cancers early, can make a huge difference to people's cancer survival. If you're diagnosed at the earliest stages, 9 in 10 people live beyond 5 years. If you're diagnosed at the latest stages, that often goes down to 1 in 10. So early diagnosis is absolutely crucial. There's humour in this, sitting on the purple loo.
Absolutely. I was going to say the image of celebrities sitting on that purple neon lit loo and talking about the funny stories regarding poo that they have is going to encourage other people.
But there's a serious message,
of course,
as well. There's an absolute serious message about know your own body. When your habits change, persevere, speak to a doctor, and if appropriate, get the right tests and referrals.
Yes.
Because it's a very exciting period in bowel cancer research as well as cancer research more generally. Yeah. There's more hope now, more optimism than there has been ever before. We've seen in bowel cancer a doubling of cancer survival over the last 50 years, a doubling of cancer. How different is that compared to, I think, of my mother or my grandmother's age? But early diagnosis is key because we want everyone to benefit from this golden age of cancer research.
So a doubling in survival rates, but are we seeing more bowel cancer, and are we seeing it at an earlier age?
So there's a couple of things. Because we have an ageing population, and an age is a big factor in whether you get cancer. The older you are, the more likely you are to get cancer. Is we are seeing increasing numbers of people. 1 in 2 will get cancer in our lifetime, but thankfully a whole range of treatments are in place, and research will enable us to prevent, diagnose and treat people better for the future. One of the worrying trends, and it is a worry, I want to put it in context, is early onset bowel cancer. This is happening in many countries across the world, particularly prominent in Europe, where there's an increase in younger people getting bowel cancer, which we've not seen before. There's been just over a 3% increase in the period up to 2017.
Do we know why that's happening?
We really don't know exactly why this is happening. There's a number of potential hypotheses, including changes in the population, changes in lifestyle factors, including diet, the environmental factors. But what Deborah is doing through the Bowel Babe Fund, her memory lives on, her legacy lives on, has funded a major cancer grand challenge with one of the best teams in the world coming together from different countries to answer exactly that question. Why is this a trend we're seeing? And that team, it's focused on, called Prospect, is focused on finding the solutions to those questions so we can target and treat people better. And the Bowel Babe Fund, £17 million has been raised. I mean, I remember when I spoke to Deborah about setting up the fund. We have the honour at Cancer Research UK to lead that fund with her family, who decide where they want to put the money that's been raised in Deborah's memory to the focus on high quality cancer research. She was so determined about, wasn't she? Early detection, personalised medicines, and their funding. The Bowel Babe Fund is supporting this major team. So he's hoping in several years' time we'll have some answers to those questions.
Well, of course, Deborah was unforgettable, wasn't she? She was inspirational. She was attractive. She was, her energy was just amazing right up until the end.
She was indeflatable.
Absolutely.
And she was determined. And did Did you ever say no to her? Because
of course not. No one could.
Because one of the issues was it was quite hard to say
Absolutely.
no to her.
And she did it all with such grace and humour. I mean, dressing up as a poo, as a giant poo. I mean, humour was important in breaking the taboo, talking about bowels, and making it an everyday conversation for people who
people were
symptoms.
Inspired by her, and she had a serious message as well.
Of course,
she was an incredible public communicator. People trusted her, were inspired by her, and when she put that call to action out, which was, help me raise money for bowel cancer. She only wanted to fund the very best scientists and researchers and clinical trials, and she wanted to, I would say, leave a legacy for others. She said to me, this won't work in my lifetime, but I want other people not to go through the same as she did. And it's fantastic to see that fund grow and for us to be able to steward that and to support world-class research, because she was deadly serious about research, wasn't she?
Oh, yes. She was very particular about...
People remember the pictures of the poos and her dancing beautifully and speaking at events, and I would remember a room you could hear a pin drop.
She was very knowledgeable, and she knew exactly what kind of research she wanted to focus on and who would be doing it.
Absolutely, she did. And what we want to use is Bowel Cancer Month to smash those taboos, to talk about poo, to get people talking in their own families, to raise funds for the Bowel Babe Fund, because we've made great progress. Fantastic. We've seen a doubling of bowel cancer survival, but it's not enough, is it?
No.
And when people are diagnosed with late stage bowel cancer, 1 in 10 chance of living over 5 years. That's got to change. That's why for Cancer Research UK, we fund world-class research into over 200 different types of cancer. Bowel cancer is a big part of that, and our research focuses on genetics and bowel cancer, the prevention of bowel cancer, looking at exercise and diet, looking at how you can find, through blood tests, ways to identify, detect cancer earlier, and new ways to diagnose it through things like a robotic camera that people swallow. It's a bit easier, colonoscopy, a bit cheaper. People swallow it and it takes samples and take photos as it goes through your
People
bowel.
think a camera, well, it's that big, and it's not. This is a microscopic thing.
So we're trying to use every piece of the armoury that we have to make sure that we are world leading, not world lagging in cancer outcomes, and that everyone benefits from the advances in research.
And raising awareness is the first step, because unless people are aware and actually go and see the doctor, none of this diagnostic ability and treatment, it can be there. But no two people are the same, are they, with their symptoms? So we always have this conversation in general practice with patients, but what's normal for one person won't be the same for the next. So some people will sort of open their bowels maybe twice a week, for some people 3 times a day.
Yeah.
But if it's normal for them, that's fine. But it's when it changes, it's when someone's individual bowel habit changes that the alarm bells will start to ring.
That's absolutely right. And we heard from Adele, who was talking about changes in her bowel habits. But the critical thing is the changes for you. So, of course, there are a range of symptoms that we could talk about, but the critical thing is when it's different for you. And I would strongly encourage people, when that happens, go and visit your doctor, be persistent in that, and they're there to help, and they will help.
Yeah, I think
early detection and early diagnosis is absolutely crucial. We don't want people who are somehow embarrassed about talking about poo, leaving it longer and longer and longer, because that can have such a detrimental effect. We all want to spend more precious time with our loved ones. So take this step, banish the taboos.
Absolutely. absolutely. So as a GP, I always say to people, look, this is our bread and butter. We see all sorts of things. We see skin issues, we see bowel issues, sight, hearing, you name it. We see it all, and no one should be embarrassed about going to see their doctor. I think some of the British society do have this thing. Anything below the waist is, either you're going to be laughed at or it's going to be terribly embarrassing. But actually, you've got to address these parts of your body just like you would anything else. And the more open you are, the doctor is not going to be shocked. They've seen it all before. Get it sorted, get it done, and you've got a much better chance of coming through.
I had an appointment with my GP last week exactly on this issue, and I'd had several unusual symptoms, and what they did was give me a fit test, which is a really important, test where you're
testing for blood.
You're testing
in the
for
motion.
blood in your stool. Yeah. Some conversations about that in my household, I can tell you.
I can imagine.
Knocks on the door. What are you doing?
Yeah.
And I'm hoping for a text which says you're fine.
Yes.
But you have to go. And when I had that experience last week, it wasn't remotely embarrassing.
No, good.
And I think each and every one of us just needs to listen to their own body and act on it.
Absolutely.
But we're so grateful for the public support for Cancer Research UK and the support of the public for the Bowel Babe Fund, because it is through science and research we will be able to find new ways to prevent, diagnose and treat bowel cancer, and we couldn't do it without the support of the great British public. They trust us. We fund the best peer-reviewed science, the best people, discovery scientists, clinicians, doctors, nurses, and there's this team of people who are focused on how do we improve cancer survival for bowel cancer, and how do we all get to spend more precious time with our loved ones. And we heard from Adele. I mean, how inspiring is she?
Amazing.
Raising awareness, raising funds, and it's this team that binds us all together.
Absolutely.
We all share this, don't we? We've all had our lives touched by cancer. So the more we can come together and reap the benefits of a golden age of cancer research, the better, I think.
Absolutely, Michelle. Well, you're doing a great job, and the research is coming on leaps and bounds. We're getting there. Distance to go still, but thank you for all your efforts and for Cancer Research UK and the Bowel Babe Fund. I think you've highlighted the importance of awareness, of not being embarrassed, and the fact that treatment is getting better in terms of outcomes. So thank you.
And
keep up the good work.
We will beat cancer together.
We'll get there in the end, won't we?
We will.
Thank you again, Michelle, very much. And of course to Adele Roberts. And for more on Adele's Marathon Challenge, go to her Just Giving page and search for Adele and Audrey Run the World. Don't forget, if you have any questions about your health, send me an email to ask@drhilaryjones.com. If there's something on your mind, I want to help. Make sure you watch the next episode and let's talk about what really matters to you. And for more information and show notes on all our programmes, go to drhilaryjones.com.